Thank you for taking time out with PSOA. Sean Johnston here from Omaha, Nebraska, bringing you NFHS NSAA training tape number 8. We are reaching the final stretch of the 2025 high school football season. And with that being said, many games, many moments, the littlest things can make the biggest difference at the end of the season when it comes to who does not make the playoffs, and the seeds, who's going to host. So let's take a few extra moments to continue our education and development of the application of rules and mechanics, so it doesn't fall on us as officials of who wins or loses a game. Our first play here, we're going to talk about false start threshold. We are in press coverage, and when we're in press coverage, the smaller the movement, the bigger the impact it's going to have on the defense. A lot of times you might have heard myself or another veteran official say we don't want to call movements, flinches that don't simulate the snap as a false start, because that is the definition. A false start is a movement that is abrupt, that is quick, and it causes a reaction by the defense, which now puts the defense at a disadvantage. So in press coverage, our threshold is a lot tighter because it doesn't take much for that defender to react to a flinch and get off balance. All right, so go back here, and we're just going to go in slow motion on this little flinch prior to the snap and the defense reaction. That defense is in press coverage, and his balance shift changes. So this is properly called a false start by the line judge. Good high toss of the flag, just a small little thing. Have that flag on a false start go into the backfield. That way when you march off the 5 yards, you are at the spot or near the spot, you pick up your flag so you're not going back and forth. But excellent job throwing it high in the air, stop the clock, preliminary signal. Now everybody in the field knows we have a false start. Then he gets onto the official-to-official communication to give the referee the number. So good judgment. This is a flinch that causes a defensive reaction in press coverage, false start. We're not going to call all flinches, but the one that puts the defense at a disadvantage, we need to call. Next one is another false start situation. We have the offense that broke the huddle, and now all players have to get set for 1 second. If all 11 players do not get set for 1 second, we are shifting, which will convert into a false start because the offense never got set. They were still moving prior to the snap. So this receiver, we want to use preventative officiating every single down. Line of scrimmage officials, let the receivers know, I'm the line. I'm the line. As this receiver is getting set, he's forward, he's backwards, and he's still moving. He never gets set for 1 complete second. This is an illegal shift converted into a false start. Let's get in a pre-snap routine to get these players legal and not tell them move up, move back. Just tell them what they are. I got you on, I got you beyond, I got you off. Get them set and legal to prevent these types of false starts. The next play turned in here. We got 1st and 10 at the A-17. So first we're going to take a look at a forward pass. This is the only forward pass that the offense can now have on this play. So line of scrimmage officials, this is going to be your primary responsibility. We are not punching forward, but we have to put in our head forward pass. That way, if this player passes again forward, we have a foul. Only 1 legal forward pass per play. This is a run. The ball carrier is coming towards the sideline. Line of scrimmage officials, if the ball carrier is coming towards you, You got to get behind the ball carrier for your safety, number one. And number two, open up your angle vision to see all the blocks, not just one block. As this play develops, you're going to see the defender leg whip the official. That is how injuries can happen. If we're behind the ball carrier, we save ourselves from injury. Now we have the arrow, a brick in the hand. Whenever the ball reverses fields, we cannot watch the ball carrier. We must watch the blockers. And bam, we have an illegal blindside block. And we're going to go to the end zone view, a potential targeting. And now the player is at risk of the official judging flagrant or not flagrant. Before we go to the end zone angle, continue officiating. I feel this is a great job of this official not using a sideline warning necessarily. The coach is doing the internal reaction. His player is down on the ground, looks seriously injured. Official does a great job of reminding the coach to stay back. Good professional judgment of not giving sideline warning here. That's not the intent of the rule. But we want to continue officiating the play until the play is over. We have definitely personal foul. You name the category. So we're going to go back to the previous spot. And we're going to be 1st and 18.5 at the A8.5 position 1 because we snapped it at position 1. Play clock will be set to 25 seconds and the game clock will start on the ready. Now let's take a look at the end zone view of the judgment of blindside block, targeting, or flagrant hit. Here is going to be the block in question. He lowers his helmet and he makes forcible contact on a person from the blind side. This is a defenseless player, and great job, 3 flags. We are officiating blockers. Players, when in doubt, do not lower the boom. Stand there, absorb the block, hands completely out, or shade block. Put your hands up in the air because you are putting yourself at risk of allowing officials to deem this flagrant, which is now ejection from that contest and future consequences in future contests. When in doubt, players, do not decleat your opponent. One of the great things that I have found with these training tapes is those officials watching it, it gets others in the rule book. So a shout out to officials who called this in, who commented this in on my words of enforcing this at the succeeding spot during a free kick. So a rule clarification from last week. If this foul happens during the kick, the only enforcement spot would be the previous spot. All right. So fouls during the kick by the receivers, the enforcement spot is the previous spot. Now, going back into slow motion on this play, at this moment, the football has hit the goal line. Once the kicked ball touches the goal line or touches the end zone, the ball is now dead by rule. So this block is now after the ball is dead. So we have a dead ball foul, personal foul, blindside block, and then taunting afterwards. When in doubt, a foul by the receivers happened after the kick or during the return. If we could avoid having another free kick, let's avoid having another free kick. But if this block clearly happened before that kick was over, yes, the enforcement spot would be the previous spot. While we're on unsportsmanlike conduct fouls, Nate Newhouse will be sending out in his weekly reminders, this is the time of year we really have to be ready for unsportsmanlike conduct behavior. People get frustrated, players get frustrated, and they might do things that they haven't done in the first 7 weeks. So this is an example of taunting and baiting while going to score a touchdown. Players advancing to the end zone, unless it's really time related, they don't want to score because they want the clock to run out. They don't want to score because they don't want to give the other team back after a score. The other team gets the free kick. But this, with the score, that what it is, 42-0, all this player's doing is taunting and baiting. This is an unsportsmanlike conduct foul. It's a live ball foul treated as a dead ball foul. And continuing to prolong and bring attention to himself, somersaults in the end zone, you can argue there's 2 unsportsmanlike conduct penalties on this play. 1 for baiting and taunting, not scoring, and 2, doing the somersault and bringing attention to oneself. We cannot have this in high school football, as it will bring ill will to the opponent, and we want to limit that behavior. On an unsportsmanlike conduct during a scoring play, the offended team has the option to enforce a 15-yard penalty on the try or kickoff. If they do it on the kickoff, back judges, make sure you go to the 40-yard line, give the penalty signal, and then march back the 15 yards. This play is going to demonstrate an illegal personal contact away from the ball, but we want to highlight also where the defense may be able to do this legally. So we have 2nd and 10 at the B11. The ball carrier clearly has the ball. The ball was clearly handed off. And the previous player in possession of the ball, the quarterback, he is not acting as a ball carrier. He is not faking that he has the ball and is advancing the ball. Had this quarterback pretended he had the ball and tried to decoy the defense, he would be eligible to be tackled. But this is clearly an action that he handed the ball off and he is no longer in possession of the ball. The defense cannot just tackle any player away from the ball carrier. This is a personal foul, unnecessary roughness. After enforcement, we would have 2nd and 4.5 at the B5.5 yard line. Play clock set to 40 seconds and game clock will start on the snap. Very important, when you get inside the 10-yard line, usually 5 will get us 1. Now you have to communicate as a crew. Will half the distance get us 1? You would think 2nd and 4.5 at the 5.5 would get you 1, but it doesn't. All right, the line to gain is the 1-yard line. Half the distance from the 4.5 is not going to get you a first down. So another special crew communication and mechanic when we get inside the 10-yard line to remind ourselves. Half the distance will or will not get us a first down. Last week we had a horse collar tackle. This week we have another horse collar tackle. We will say last week it was debated was the horse collar grabbed on the inside side or was it grabbed on the shoulder pad? If it's clearly grabbed on the shoulder pad, you can inform and tell the coach why it was not a horse collar tackle. If you don't know and the legs buckle like it's going to buckle here, when in doubt, it is a horse collar tackle, as that's a safety play. As we play this one out, we're going to go slow motion. This is clearly inside or nameplate and pulled backwards, correctly ruled horse collar tackle. After enforcement, we would have 1st and goal at the B4.5 yard line, position 5, play clock to 40 seconds, and game clock on the snap. The penalty enforcement spot will be at the succeeding spot, which is the 9-yard line. So again, officials, if you know it's clearly on the shoulder pad, you can explain to a coach why it was not a horse collar tackle. We cannot miss these horse collar tackles as it is player safety, and we need to send the message to the defense. Do not tackle a ball carrier in this fashion. It is too dangerous to the opponent. These next 5 plays is a 5-play vignette to communicate to all of the officials working high school football, there is specific Federation high school mechanics to communicate to the clock keeper when to stop the clock and when to start the clock. Each crew cannot be doing their own mechanics. We always complain about chain crew, ball personnel, and clock operators. They don't know what they're doing. But if you think about it, if they see different crews do different things week after week after week, they're confused and they don't know what to do. So now let's take a look at these 5 plays and let's be consistent in our communications according to the NFHS Mechanics Manual of what to communicate and how to communicate to the clock operators. Situation 1, first down inbounds. Line of scrimmage officials stop the clock, then communicate to the referee that the ball carrier was tackled in bounds. Then the referee, once the ball is set, will wind the clock. Umpires, we do not want you stopping the clock in these situations. If you get in this habit, umpires, there are going to be times where it's not a first down. You don't see the knee down in the ball. So, officials, first down, inbounds, stop the clock, and then communicate to the referee, tackle inbounds, and this will be the sideline line of scrimmage official stopping the clock. Next situation, run ends inbounds, and we are holding up the next number down with a straight arm. That arm up is telling the clock operator, keep the clock running. So arm up, which is a good job by this crew right here. His arm is going to be coming up in the air. Downfield hand, not with an open hand, but with the next number of down. In this case, third down. All right. It's not a big moment right now, but if it's going to be third down a half yard short, and we know it's short, by raising our hand, it is communicating to everybody, short of the line to gain, and keep the clock running. Third situation, when a ball carrier's forward progress is stopped in bounds, and even though they were tackled out of bounds, the forward progress is in bounds, we just raise our hand. Correct, awesome judgment of the forward progress stopped in bounds. So we want to keep the clock running. We want to get behind the ball carrier for our safety, but do not wind the clock. Official did a phenomenal job of raising his hand. Just leave it at that. The less signals to the clock operators, the less confusion there will be. Play number 4, we have a first down, stop the clock, and then we have a runner out of bounds. Now you want to communicate with the referee. Ball carrier is out of bounds, and you could do this by using your hands, pushing backwards out of bounds. Then the coaches in the press box could see out of bounds. You can place the ball clearly out of bounds. That's another way to communicate. And then we have the official to official communication. Out of bounds, now the wing officials could let the coaches know the clock will not start until the snap. So correctly ruled here. First down, ball carrier now moving forward out of bounds. The clock will not start until the snap. And then the next signal that we should do to stop the clock is an incomplete pass signal. So we're going to see here, we have a deep pass over the middle. Once an official signals incomplete pass, which we're going to have right here, the clock stops, and that now tells the clock operator, do not start the clock until the next snap. So let's really focus of being a unified team of officials throughout the whole state of Nebraska and only use Federation mechanics these last 2 weeks to help the clock operators to be consistent and successful by us using consistent messages. Thank you for taking time out with PSOA. We're looking forward to one more training tape. If you have plays this week that you think other officials can use to have conversations and get ready for games, please send it in to us. And until next week, remember, officials, you're only as good as your last call.